Hey guys, Sean Bidget here. Got another V12 to do a video on. So this is actually a KWA or KM4 RIS. So this is a two-piece hop-up M4. This is the first two-piece hop-up rifle that I have put a V12 into. Kind of a pain. I do not like the two-piece hop-up systems. Not only are they pretty much proprietary to their own hop-up unit, the two-piece hop-ups are different from like KWA compared to a JG, and then you see some cheap, like really cheap M4s will come with two-piece hop-ups, and they're different. Like some Lancer Tacticals I've seen with two-piece, and they're different from the KWA, and it's like sometimes they're not compatible when you try them together, and it's a huge pain. Alright, let's just start from the back. So on the back we have a standard KWA crane stock. You pull the cap off right there. Got a standard JST LiPo. It's a Valken. It's 250 milliamp. There's plenty of room in this stock for this battery, of course. Give them the 40 patch on the side. Those pieces of Velcro were already on there. I'm not sure if he wants one on each side. I just put the one on the other side because I assume would be a righty. So I don't know. He might be a lefty, so he might want it on this side. But that's up to him. I am sending him two, just as a courtesy. I'm giving him a second one, so he can give to a friend. The pistol grip is standard. Standard buffer tube, metal buffer tube with an ambi sling mount. I don't know if he's going to use that or not. He probably uses a sling. Most people do, really. Standard pistol grip, metal upper and lower, so this is not one of the budget, what do they call them, the commando, plastic lower and metal upper. This is the metal and metal, KM4 RIS. Standard selector switch, standard bolt lock, standard charging handle, nothing special. The paint job on here, I'm not sure exactly what it is. It's like green, brown. It looks okay, honestly. Dust cover. Got a Daniel Defense rail on here. I'm not sure what the length is. I'd assume 10 inches because the barrel, I think, is 10 inches and it's the exact length, pretty much, of the barrel. It is a Daniel Defense barrel. There are trademarks on it. In fact, let me see if I can get the length off of the barrel. Daniel Defense 556 NATO 7 or 1 and 7 twist. 7-10. I don't know if that's the date. 07-10. I don't know if that's a date or not. That's weird, but it doesn't say length on it, but I assume it's 10 inches. I'm not sure if this is a true Daniel Defense Mark 18 rail, or Mark 18 specifically. I know it's a Daniel Defense. It's one of the Madable ones. It came bronze, and he painted it. Got a KWA MP7 front sight, and a Magpul AFG. This is the real one. I don't know if this is 1 or 2. I don't know. I think it's the second one because it's a little bit smaller, if I'm not mistaken. But I do see some trademarks down on the inside of the rail. It says Daniel Defense Inc. Mark 18 RAS2. The flash hider on the front is actually mine. He did not send one. I think he has a suppressor or some sort of flash hider. I think he just didn't send it because of the size of the box. It would have been too big, I think. So I put something on the end here. And then he also has a tan EOTech holographic. It says LE EOTech. Or L3, sorry, EOTech. I'm not sure if people will know. Oh, this is a smaller one. This is the... Oops. These are the watch battery ones. I hate these. What was I saying about the sight? I think this is a 553 because of the length. I like the XPSs, though. They're small like this, but I think they use 123A batteries, which is a little bit nicer in my opinion. So that's pretty much it on the gun as far as externals, internals. It's got the stock crappy, somewhat crappy KWA two-piece hop-up. I'd say KWA's two-piece hop-ups are the best of the two pieces, but that's not saying much. And then it has a stock KWA inner barrel, and then it has a Lonex 50-degree bucking. Sorry, not Lonex, Maple Leaf. Normally I use Lonex. I've never tried a Maple Leaf 50-degree. I've tried 75s, and I think even their 80s, the really hard ones. I'm actually happy with the Maple Leaf 50-degree. Honestly, highly recommend it. I have two of them. Put one in here, and it shoots really, really nice. So for the internals, it's got a Valken grip connect, which fits perfectly. It's also got a blue Tap Airsoft cut face straight trigger. It's got a QEV valve, and it's got a poppet shim. And then the nozzle has been bored out. Now, the nozzle has not been bored out as much as I normally do. Normally, I bore the nozzles out a lot with a bigger drill bit. This one I use a smaller drill bit. He plays indoors, and the limit at the place that he plays is actually 380, so he's shooting under the limit. Other than that, the engine's stock. Now, as far as rate of fire, he wanted it shooting a lot faster. Unfortunately, I think it comes down to the two-piece hop-up. I've put spacers on the two-piece hop-up, like O-rings, springs, to set it against the end of the shell to seal a little bit better, and it just doesn't feed at all. No feeding. So the highest rate of fire that I can get out of this, and it shoots good, is 32 is what it's reading. And that is the highest I can get, unfortunately. He wanted like 45, 50 just to mess around with his friends, because, you know, indoor you can't use it anyways, so he just wanted it, you know, to mess around with. But with the two-piece hop-up, it's just impossible. When I set it to 45 rounds a second, it feeds, but the BBs literally go everywhere. Alright, so let's try a few magazines. I've got a few of the Vietnam mags. I've got a G&G mid-cap, a VFC QRS mid-cap, and then another VFC Stanag mid-cap. Alright, so the regulator that I'm using is actually my setup. He actually purchased a AMPED Airsoft SLP regulator, the ARX 180 or whatever they call it. It's got the regulator line and then also an SLP 62 cubic inch Valken tank, but I ran out of air. He actually had that shipped to my house. So when I ship this gun back to him, I have to ship the tank. It's empty. You can't ship tanks with air in them, so that's what I did. I did set his regulator at 90, and then it ran out of air. So I told him, I showed him on video how to turn the regulator on, how to turn it off, how to make sure there's no air in the regulator once you're done with it, and then how to adjust the PSI. So hopefully he understands that, because he needs to turn it down to 85 PSI. But the regulator that I'm using is the Redline Firebase, and then a Gorilla 62 cubic inch. I have about 2300 PSI left in this. Alright, again, so .25s, 85 PSI, 325, 326, 324, 326, very consistent, 324 to 326, very consistent. Joules is 1.24, so what, a little over 1.2 joules with the 2.5. Go and shoot it. Again, it is overhopped. Alright, let's try another Vietnam mag. Empty. Alright, let's try a Stanag VFC mid-cap. Doesn't shoot that great even at that. Oh, this mag is double feeding every round. Yeah, man, this mag does not like this gun. Alright, that G&G mag did not like that, this gun, so let's just use the Vietnam again. Gosh, that is awful. Alright, so we're back out here about an hour later. So I hate the new firmware. I just hate it. Basically, I had two different engines for two different customers. One for this KWA and then one for a SCAR. The one for the SCAR was the original firmware. Now, he plays all indoor, and he said he really didn't care about rate of fire. So I was just going to run his at 30. The guy that with this KWA wanted to run about 40 to 50. Now, he only plays indoor too, but he just wants to mess around with his friends. So, of course, me trying to make my customers happy, I spent a lot more time tuning this thing. And I actually took the SCAR's engine, the engine for the SCAR, and put it inside of this gun, the original firmware, and it shoots twice as good. I don't get it. Literally, I threw it in here because I have a baseline for the original systems. So as soon as I program a HPA engine, a V12, I do the same settings for every gun. I put it into the gun, the body, and then I shoot it and test it, and I can lower the settings or higher the settings depending on how I'm feeding, what the FPS is, blah 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 blah, just to tune it. So I put this as a baseline, I install the engine, I end up going from 30 to 40 rounds a second, and then I adjust the nozzle timing a little bit, adjust it down, and then I adjust the dwell up. And it shoots fantastic. Now the FPS is a little bit lower, but this is the stock nozzle and it's not bored out like the other one. So I'm probably going to leave this as is, or I'm going to take the nozzle from that one and put it in this one. I'm not sure. I'm going to have to talk to the customer that owns the Scar and see if he wants the new firmware, because the new firmware is just not conducive for high rate of fire. It's not. At least in this setup, in this exact gun, it was awful. And then I put the original system in here, and it shoots twice as good. More honestly, they should have the old firmware and the new firmware. You can choose, you can pay for the engine, have it the same price. They need to offer both. So let's just go ahead and shoot it. I'm running 90 psi, so a little bit higher. This is a new tank as well. I went through 2 tanks so far trying to tune this gun. The magazine catch spring is not in there right, so I'm going to have to hold the magazine catch closed. So let's go and put it through the chrono. Nope, hit the inside. 335, 334, 334, 335, 336, 335. This thing is insanely consistent. This is the old firmware, and it's that consistent. Gosh, you're not going to believe me that it was that consistent, but it really was. 1.04 joules, so very, very low. Almost 340 with a 0.2. I would use 2s just for the sake of feeding on full auto. If he wants to just use semi-indoor, you could use just, 2 5s. I'm considering putting the bored out nozzle in here so that he can run 80 and shoot about 350. 38.49, 38.5. So this is with the old firmware. You set it for 40 and it shoots like 38, 39. So it's like 1 or 2 RPS lower than what you set it at. But let me just show you. It actually shoots really, really well. Hop-up's too low. That is so much more consistent. And how consistent? It's not as consistent as my V12, but it's definitely pretty dang consistent. Alright, let's just finish this mag off on semi. Oh, it's out already. Let's go ahead and try a VFC Stanag. Need to turn the hop up a little bit. This bucking still needs broken in, I think. Again, it's the Maple Leaf 50. At 40 rounds a second with the new firmware, the BBs were going straight into the grass, whereas these BBs are actually hopping. So that's pretty dang good. Would I play at 40 with this current setup? Honestly, I would. With the way it shoots, it's not bad. Like that, it shoots good enough where if somebody's 100, 200 feet away, you can just flip it to full auto and go. I am going to swap out the trigger. I'm going to put that blue trigger in here because the customer with this gun bought the blue trigger. And then I'm going to put all the stuff into the new firmware, and I'm going to try that in that guy's Scar. If it doesn't work, then I'm just going to eat the cost of that engine and try to resell that engine and buy him an original firmware engine. So I don't think anything's going to change on this. Of course, I'm going to take the gun apart and swap triggers again, put the mag catch spring in there, and then I might change the nozzle so it shoots harder. I might put the nozzle from the other engine into here, and it'll probably shoot at 90 psi. It'll probably shoot 390, roughly. So then I could probably run 80 psi and shoot 350. That's the goals. If you have any questions, let me know. See you in the next video.